Hey, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about expressions you can use with the doctor. These are some expressions that you can use when you need to visit the doctor and explain a problem with your body, or maybe explain something that happened to someone else. Let's get started. Okay, the first expression is a very basic expression. My body part hurts. My body part hurts. Sometimes I hear learners use a pattern like, I have a pain in my body part. But this one is much more natural. So examples of this might be things like, my head hurts, or my stomach hurts. So using hurt, that kind of expresses a very basic type of pain. So this is probably the quickest and easiest way to explain that a specific body part does not feel good. So you can use any body part. My leg hurts, my nose hurts, my ears hurt. So just keep in mind, if you're using the plural form of a noun, as I just did with ears, you don't need to put an S at the end of hurt. So my head hurts, head is singular, but my ears hurt. So ears, that's two, ears hurt. So please keep that in mind when you're using this pattern. My body part hurts. The next pattern is, there's a spot on my body part. So here a couple of points. This there's is there is, there is. There's a spot on my body part. Spot refers to something that's new. Usually we go to the doctor for something new, and it's usually something that's like a dark color. So we use the word spot to talk about that. You could say dark spot. For example, with this pattern, there's a spot on my leg, or there's a spot on my neck. So include the part of your body where you notice the new spot. We can use the word spot to describe that kind of shape. So it's usually a circular shape, a spot. There's a spot on my body part. Okay, the next pattern is, I think I broke my body part. I think I broke my body part. This is a pattern we use specifically for cases where we think, in this case, we think we broke a bone, So we don't use this to talk about pain necessarily. We use this to talk specifically about a bone in our body being broken. So I think I broke my body part. The body part you use here should be a body part with a bone. So, for example, with this pattern, I think I broke my arm. I think I broke my finger. So we would not say, for example, I think I broke my stomach, because there are no bones in the stomach. We use parts of the body which have bones in these patterns. I think I broke my arm. I think I broke my leg. I think you broke my nose. So you can use different parts of the body with bones in this pattern. And you can use I think to express kind of your guess. I've included this here just to explain maybe quickly what your gut feeling is. So your gut feeling means your instinct, the first thing that you think of. So if you want to say your guess for some reason to your doctor, you can say, I think I broke my finger. I think I broke my arm. Okay, let's look at the next pattern. The next pattern, I have two verbs here. I have I fell down, past tense, or I crashed. And then we include a sport or an activity in the ing form. So, for example, I fell down skateboarding, or I crashed snowboarding. So what's the difference between fell down and crashed? So to fall down, it sounds much lighter than crashed. So to fall down is like we're doing something that's a typical action and we maybe make a mistake when we're walking and our body falls. So I fell down the stairs perhaps, or I fell down because I stood up too quickly. So I fell down skateboarding. It might depend on your level of skateboarding, but to fall down sounds kind of light, not so serious, but it could be serious depending on the situation. Crash, however, sounds quite strong, quite intense. I crashed snowboarding. It sounds like your whole body was maybe very violently moved or tossed in some way. I crashed snowboarding. So this is the same verb we use for car accidents, like car crashes. So your body, you imagine your body crashed maybe into something like the ground or into another object. I crashed snowboarding. So you can use this pattern to explain the reason for your pain or the reason for your injury. For example, I think I broke my arm. I crashed snowboarding. So that might be a way to describe to your doctor what happened. So why do you think your arm is broken? Because I crashed snowboarding. Okay, let's continue on to the next pattern. The next pattern is person was in a car accident. Person was in a car accident. So here, you can use yourself if you need to, like I was in a car accident, or if you need to report about someone else, like you saw another person who was involved in a car accident, or maybe you need to talk about a family member or a colleague that was in a car accident. You can use this pattern to do that. For example, my roommate was in a car accident. My roommate was in a car accident. Or if you're replying to a question about someone, like, hey, how's your coworker? Was he okay? We didn't see him yesterday. You might reply, oh, he was in a car accident. So you can use he or she or they. If you need to use they to talk about more than one person, please make sure you change was to were. They were in a car accident. So this is a pattern you can use to talk about car accidents or other vehicle accidents too. So you could change car to like boating accident or boat accident if you need to. But in, I think, most cases, perhaps we use car accident. Okay, let's continue to the next pattern. The next pattern is I'm having trouble something. I'm having trouble something. So we end this expression with another verb in the ing form. For example, I'm having trouble seeing. I'm having trouble hearing. I'm having trouble sleeping, and so on. So this means that this activity, this action, is difficult for the speaker here. I'm having trouble. We're using this progressive form to mean this is happening now. My condition, this is the condition now. I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm having trouble sleeping now in my life. So whatever action is difficult for you, you can use it at the end of this pattern in the ing verb form. For example, some more examples. I'm having trouble walking. Maybe my leg hurts. Or I'm having trouble focusing. I'm having trouble focusing. So maybe it's difficult for me to think clearly. I'm having trouble focusing. So you can use actions or you can use something relating to like your mental situation inside your mind too. So when you explain to your doctor, you can use these sorts of patterns to describe things that are difficult for you at the moment. I'm having trouble sleeping. That's a very common one. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one is I burned my body part. I burned my body part. Here we're using the past tense burned. This is the past tense of the verb to burn. So to burn something means to make it too hot, and to injure that thing. In this case, we are injuring a part of the body with heat. So I burned my body part. Please note that in English we have a couple of different words relating to burns, especially with the skin. If you're talking about like fire, so something very hot, for example, you're cooking with fire or you're cooking with an electric stove and you touch it, we use the verb burn in that case. If, however, you're talking about sunlight, like going to the beach or going out in the sun, and your skin becomes red, we use sunburn, sunburn. And the pattern we use for that is my body part got sunburned. So my arm got sunburned, or my face got sunburned, my shoulders got sunburned. We use sunburn to talk about sunlight, burns from the sunlight. We use burn to talk about fire and heat. Another point to note is that in English we have different verbs for burn and to express when our skin just changes color slightly. So for some people want their skin color to change a little bit in the sunlight, to get darker. We call that to tan. To tan, that's the verb we use, or to get a tan. So in some languages, getting a tan is the same as getting a sunburn. But in English, we have two different verbs, to tan, or to get a tan, and to get sunburned. So sunburn is bad in English, and to get a tan can be a good thing for many people. So please keep those points in mind. But for this lesson, I want to focus on burns like from heat, from like a fire or something else very hot. I burned my body part. Some examples of this are, I burned my hand, or I burned my arm. So we use the verb burn to talk about heat source related injuries. Okay, on to the next part. The next one is my body part itches. My body part itches. Please be careful. Do not use the word scratches here. To scratch refers to this motion. To itch refers to the feeling, the sensation, like, my arm itches, I want to scratch my arm. So scratch refers to this motion. Itching, or to itch, refers to the condition, the feeling. It itches. So please be careful. Don't confuse itch and scratch. My body part itches. My body part itches. So I want to scratch it, in other words. For example, my head itches. Or this bite on my leg itches, or this rash itches. So there are a couple of new vocabulary words here. I've included this bite on my leg itches. So imagine a spider or a bug bit you. So bit is the past tense of the verb bite. So maybe it itches after, or rather the bug bite itches after the bite happens. You can describe that with this pattern. This bite on my leg itches. Or this rash itches. A rash is typically a red area of the skin. It's not a burn. It's something from maybe a bug bite, or maybe from a plant, or some other kind of allergic reaction related thing. And it's often red and it's kind of strange looking. We call that a rash. A rash. This is different from a spot. A spot tends to be something in a circular. It's shaped like a circle. It's a circular shape. A rash tends to not have a circular shape. It kind of spreads along the skin. So a rash is often very itchy, or this rash itches is a way you might express that. So please keep in mind itch and scratch are different again. So I want to scratch this part of my body, or this itches. This itches. Okay. Let's move on to the last part of this lesson. The last part, these last two patterns, are to express the time period or the point at which the problem started. So the doctor will often ask, when did it start? Or when did you notice the problem? Here are a couple ways that you can explain that. First, the problem started time period, and sometimes ago. The problem started time period ago. For example, the problem started 2 weeks ago, or it started yesterday. Here you'll notice I've used it. So it means the problem. Very natural to use it. So like, my head really hurts. It started yesterday. Where it refers to my head hurting. So this problem, it started yesterday, or the problem started yesterday. So we use this 2 weeks ago. In this case, we're using ago because we're talking about this time period sometime in the past. It was a long time in the past. Here you do not need to use ago. It started yesterday, so it's a specific point in time. It started yesterday. So this is a couple, or rather, yeah, these are two patterns to describe a point in time at which the problem started. If you want to be more specific, like a specific day or a specific date, you can use this pattern. The problem started on date, or the problem started day. The problem started on day. For example, the problem started on Monday, or you may hear the problem started Monday. It started on the third, where the third means the third of the month, the current month. It started on the 3rd, or it started on Monday. You can also drop on here. It started Monday. So if you want to use a specific day or a specific day of the month, you can use this pattern. These might be good for specific time periods. So these are good expressions to use to explain when an issue started. Okay. So this is a quick list of some expressions that you can use when you need to visit a doctor or a hospital or a clinic and so on. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again